So I have the opportunity at other events, and today I appreciate the opportunity to introduce our next governor, Doug Ducey.
I want to start by saying thank you to Robert, and I just think Robert's doing a terrific job as chairman of our party. It's great to have you here. You're all over the state. You're working hard, and it's great to be here with Secretary Bennett and Congressman Gosar. And I want to thank all of you that are in the room here today. It really is our volunteers, our PCs, and our Republican women that make things happen. I mean, here we are coming up on campaign time, but you've been working this entire time, the entire year, to lay the groundwork. This reminds me in many ways of 2010. We had a wave election. If you'll remember, in 2010, it was a historic take-back of the House of Representatives. And it was because we were talking about the things that make our party and our country great. The idea of limited government, the idea of what works in free market economics, and the ideas of having policies of personal responsibility that are better than what the other side is saying. We've seen 6 years of Barack Obama now in office. We've done some great things in the House of Representatives. We've taken back a lot of state houses, but I think we need to talk about what's next and where we're going as a state and where we're going as a party. And I just want to say it's offices like this that are focused on victory and focused on getting out the vote. Because I came in 2010, and there were a lot of good things that happened. We were veto-proof in the House, we were veto-proof in the Senate, and we were 5 out of 5 statewide in terms of elected offices. Those are things we should try to keep here in Arizona. Those are things that are not going on in other states. They've lost ground. So this is very much about a fantastic ticket that we have. Secretary of State, Attorney General, State Treasurer, Corporation Commissions, legislative candidates, and Senate candidates. And I'm looking forward to working with you. Anybody that has an R after their name, I'm here to help. And I know you're here to help. And people like Ken Bennett have demonstrated leadership and graciousness in saying he's here to help. So it's time to unify. And it's time to move forward. It's time to win. And let's win with a margin that sends a message. So I'm excited to see everybody here. My message is one of gratitude and thanks. And it's one of purpose. I think we have a wonderful party for all of our challenges. And I think, we had a competitive primary in the governor's race, and we had a competitive primary in the Secretary of State's race, and a competitive primary on down the line. I'm proud of that. Okay, we're Republicans. We believe in this. This is what we do. We don't have party bosses and Chicago-style politics. I think it makes your life a lot tougher, Robert. but I think it's part of the process. We engage in the electoral process. So let's take what we've done, bring it together, and stand on the shoulders of it, and communicate that out for the rest of the state of Arizona, to not only get our Republicans out to vote, but to strengthen our party for what it's going to be for the next 4 years going forward. Thanks for being here.
I'd love to hear Congressman Gosar, and next, Ken, if you wouldn't mind, each of you addressing us.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Come on, how fancy.
I'll go. State before.
Right.
States made the feds, not the other way around. Sorry, buddy. Well, and that's a great thing, because we have a congressman who understands that principle.
That's right.
Because the states, actually, it wasn't the states that made the federal government, it was the people. We need to remember. It was the people that made the federal government. But the people had made the states before they made the federal government. Anyway, I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to be here with Doug and Paul and many others. We had a little event a couple hours ago over at Murphy's Restaurant, and I'll say a few things, so some of those that were at that event will hear a few of the same things. But in an election, everyone can't win. And the primary didn't go the way that I personally wanted it to go. But it can go the way, now, we need it to go for Arizona because we need Doug Ducey as the next governor. We need Michelle Reagan as the next Secretary of State. We need Mark Brnovich in the Attorney General's office. We're going to get Jeff DeWitt in the Treasurer's office because he's unopposed. We need Diane Douglas as Superintendent of Public Instruction. And we need Freeze and Little in the Corporation Commission. And then we need to strengthen our delegations in the House and the Senate. I had the opportunity, sometimes it didn't feel like this, but I had the opportunity to become the Senate President same year that Janet Napolitano got elected governor. And I can't tell you how tough that was, because we had to fight with everything we had for 4 years while I was Senate President to make sure that she didn't spend every dollar. Now, somehow we kind of kept it together, and we left with things in balance and $1 billion in the state's rainy day fund. But I watched in horror the next 2 years when the makeup of the House and the Senate changed just a little bit, and they weren't able to keep their Republican numbers together. And she did some things in 08 and 09 that put Arizona in a hole that we have still not dug out of. In about a year and a half, we went from a balanced budget, 9.5 in, 9.5 out, and $1 billion in the rainy day fund, to the budget that she proposed before she left, the revenue had dropped below $8 billion. Her budget was $11.1 billion in spending. The rainy day fund was gone. When Doug got there, I think the cash balances in the checking account were below zero, weren't they, Doug?
Yes.
I mean, you were in the red, what, $700 million?
$730 million on December of 2009. Wow.
I mean, that's what can happen in just a couple short years if you have the wrong people in important places of leadership. And we have got to make sure that that does not repeat itself this year. Now, what happened that year that Janet Napolitano got in, we had 3 people in a Republican primary for governor, and 1 of them won and 2 of them lost. And it was pretty tough for the 2 of them to kind of come together. And it was only 8 weeks between the primary and the general back then. Now we have 11, but 5 are already gone. What are we down to, 5 or 6? Okay.
37 days.
Who's counting the days? But we had 3. This time we had 6 in the primary. 1 of them won, but I'm here to show that it's important that we come together and support Doug for governor, because at that time in 2002, because we didn't come together, Matt Salmon, who had been our nominee at the time, lost Janet Napolitano by 0.5%. Actually, less than 0.5%. That cannot happen this time. Cannot happen. Because we will, I believe, return, if that happens, we will return to the tax and spend and tax and spend and grow government and all kinds of policies that will come from the other side that Arizona does not need. And I'll close with what I said at the earlier event. Even though Doug and I were quote-unquote opponents in the primary, just about everywhere we were together, and apparently he kept count of it. He said we were at 34 events together. I don't know if it was him keeping track or his wife Angela, but a lot of times I had to try to figure out how I could speak first, because I knew that a lot of the things I was going to say were things that he was saying, and vice versa. And we were both talking about improving our education system. We were talking about jump-starting was his word, jump-starting our economy, getting jobs in here, reforming our tax code, streamlining government, looking for how to eliminate waste and bureaucracy. So, I mean, we were saying a lot of the same things, concerns about Common Core and intervention from the federal government and all kinds of things were coming out of both of our mouths, getting rid of the income tax or moving in that direction and trying to get it to zero, as he said. So we were saying a lot of the same things, and I think we found both of ourselves saying, well, I got to say that before Doug says it, or I got to say that before Ken says it. But our party spoke, and he is our nominee, and I'm proud for him to be leading our ticket, and we need to get behind him and make sure he's the next governor of this great state. Doug, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now the federal government can say something.
You know, that's why I'm a states' rights guy. You know, we get this great country back by empowering states to have collaboration like you just saw between Ken and Doug. You know, when I first ran, what we saw 7 guys in 9 out of 9 candidates that got along. That actually said, hey, listen, what we're here for is to help people, and we're going to present the best of what we've got. Do you know today 7 of us still talk? They're my inner core. They talk to me all the time. They've got great ideas. They present a different faction. And that's what we're having here. You know, those that don't understand history or don't review history are doomed to repeat it. You can't repeat the Janet Napolitano. That's the perfect scenario, Ken. What we've got to do is go forward. Opportunities don't come around in everyone's lifetime, but twice. We are actually going to make that happen twice. 2010 and 2014. And then we'll repeat it in 2016. So I look at everybody here, the power of people coming out. It's amazing what you can do when you just say, I can do it. You remember the little engine that said that it can't, I can, I can, I can, I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can? Well, it's coming. And when you look at the federal break coming here, there is a wave coming. The issue is about security. People are scared about their country, the security of their country, security of their community, security for their family. We're also looking for opportunity. That's what Doug and Ken represented, was opportunity. An opportunity to serve, an opportunity to have our country back. So when you look at it, we also have some congressional races that we can take back. 1 with Andy Tobin, with Ann Kirkpatrick. 2 with Martha McSally versus Ron Barber. 3 with Grijalva and Gabrielle Mercer Salcido. You got 4. Hopefully the Democrat doesn't beat me on that one. Then you're stuck with Michael Weiser. I'm sorry to say that.
No.
But also 7. I'm going to tell you, the candidate that's an independent there was a former is a Republican at heart. He ran against Ed Pastor in 2010. The way they gerrymandered those delegations, Republicans only have about 48,000 Republicans in there. But there's 97,000 independents and there's 105,000 Democrats. So there's opportunity. And then Kirsten Sinema. Imagine when you think what we can do. When we put our mind to it, we can accomplish anything. So I want to thank everybody for coming out. Don't forget your grandkids and your great-grandkids and your children, because it's amazing what parents, grandchildren, or grandparents and great-grandparents have to say. It's something that we sometimes overlook, but just think, if you have 10 grandchildren, that's 10 more votes that vote Republican. I only ask one more thing, is please smile when you do it, because the liberals actually hate it when you smile. Thank you for all that you do.
Just can't even.
Can't do it.
This is what keeps you
Cannot
up at
do
night.
that.
This is why I eat bonbons at night, to stay awake so I can get work done.
I mean, my first 2 years as secretary, I worked with him as the Attorney General.
Oh, gosh.
And that involved, for example, I'll just give you a little insight. That involved, we had to write up what goes on the ballot propositions that explains to people in very succinct language, what does a yes vote on this one do and what does a no vote mean? And we tried to be very straightforward and express it as simply as possible. Unfortunately, state law is that we have to send it over to the Attorney General's office for their review. On almost every one, we got something back from that office saying, we want to word it this way. And you could tell that the this ways were for the purposes of kind of creating a bias or expressing, creating a little agenda or reflecting an agenda that they had. But we had to do something, there's a lot of power in the Attorney General and the Secretary of State, and we cannot turn the Secretary of State's office over to Terry Goddard.